Hello friends, Spencer Love here with another interview coming your way from the archives of the WCSN straight into your ears. And friends, I've got one from way back, right at the very start of this guy's interviewing career. My first ever interview. Yes, my first ever interview, not with just my guest on the show, but the first one I ever had the opportunity to do. Obviously, you guys are going to hear it is a very first sounding interview. I was nervous as hell. I got the opportunity to speak to someone that I consider not only a personal favorite professional wrestler, but someone who's really been a mentor to me throughout my career, using my air quotes, in professional wrestling. Michael Richard Blais joined me about 2.5 years ago at this point. Time flies when you're throwing watches, and it was something that, again, I was very nervous to do, but kickstarted something that I continue to love to do, speak to professional wrestlers, get their stories, and that's something that not only did I get to do with MRB a couple of years ago, but have continued to get to do and will continue to do throughout the existence of Love Wrestling. I won't delay it too much longer. Prepare your ears. My audio editing at this point certainly wasn't very good. I've tried my best. I had fun, but there's still a few nicks and dents in the audio here, but a great guest, a great guy, and my first ever interview coming up right here on Love Wrestling.
Hey, I'm Tyler Uremchuk, host of Inside the Crew on BTIHockey.com. Join me every Wednesday for exclusive interviews, insight, and everything else you need to stay up to date with the Sherwood Park Crusaders. Download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from, and keep it locked on BTIHockey.com for all your junior hockey needs.
So welcome back to Over the Top Rope on William Collins Sports. I'm your host, Spencer Love, and for the first time ever, we have a friend of the show. Joining me today, we have PWA co-champion and one half of the Western Lions, Michael Richard Blais himself. How's it going, man?
It's pretty good, mate. That's God's gift to wrestling, Michael Richard Blais.
Excuse me, God's gift to wrestling, Michael Richard Blais. How could I screw that one up? Well, seriously, man, thanks a ton for being the very first guest of Over the Top Rope. When we finally hit it big, you'll have something else to, sort of stick your claim to fame to. Like I said, since I've been a wrestling fan, I've been coming to watch the Prairie Wrestling Alliance, and you've always been pretty well my personal favorite. So seriously, this is a huge honor for me, and I'm sure I speak for myself and our fans when I say thank you. This is great.
Not a problem, man. Thanks for having me. Thanks for asking me to be the first one.
Hey, it's appreciated. You were the first guy who came to mind. It was a pretty easy email to send, to be honest with you. But let's start this off easy. You've been wrestling since you were 15. You've pretty well been wrestling for at least half your life almost. How did you get started? I guess, what made you fall in love with it and I guess pursue it as a career option?
I always tell people that the first actual vivid memory I have of my life was 3 years old and seeing Bret Hart do his entrance on WWE Raw. So that was pretty much the moment, I think, that I got hooked on wrestling for whatever reason. And I've always heard that literally the first thing I told my parents that I ever wanted to be was a pro wrestler. There was never anything else. I never wanted to be a cop or a football player or any of that stuff, just a wrestler. And then I was lucky enough that when I was 13, actually, I was able to meet Teddy Hart, of all people, and some of the other Harts, and they hooked me up with BJ's Gym, which was kind of like the big wrestling gym in Calgary at the time. Mm-hmm. And then when I was 15, TJ Wilson took an interest in myself and Brandon Van Danielson and took us under his wing, and that's when training really actually picked up, and he started training us.
Mm-hmm. So TJ Wilson, for those of us who, or those who don't know who he is, would be Tyson Kidd for WWE. Are you still in contact with him at all? Does he still sort of influence you as far as what you do now, or?
Yeah, I talk to TJ every day still. I send him my matches and stuff. I ask him questions, not just about wrestling, but for life advice and everything.
So he's more a friend than a trainer by this point.
Yeah, I say he's my mentor and also an older brother to me. Beat every opponent we have. It's just something
You're
about
not beating up each other.
Yeah, there's something about when you're really good friends with somebody, you when you're brothers, you just give it that extra little bit.
Well, there's the trust there. And I mean, for myself, I've never stepped foot in a wrestling ring, but I feel like that'd sort of be the biggest thing you would need with anybody you're going into the ring with.
Yeah, it's a little bit of that, and I think a little bit also like, even when you're such good friends and you have such respect for each other, you also want to prove something to the other guy.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Especially when he's a guy who's literally been there, I guess, as long as you have. You sort of want to play a game of one-upsmanship.
Exactly.
So TJ is not actually your only connection to the WWE. You've actually made a few appearances for him. You made one appearance on Monday Night Raw, and you actually you made an appearance in NXT to take on DIY. What's it like wrestling for the WWE?
Up until this point in my life, it's like probably the most amazing experience I've had, especially because as small as it was, like to a lot of people, maybe it doesn't mean very much because it was just, I got the crap beat out of me by Braun Strowman in about 60 seconds.
Yeah.
But for me, it was kind of like validation that everything I've worked for is worth it and that I am moving in the right direction to my ultimate goal. Because there's a lot of guys that don't even get the opportunities I've gotten so far. So it puts everything in perspective. It's humbling, and it's just awesome.
Yeah, and like especially, I'm sure you're not the only guy to feel this, but like with where Strowman is at nowadays, and for you to have been a part of that, it's got to be pretty cool for you.
Yeah, I like it. It's like every time they play a video package of Strowman, there's always like that clip of me looking scared after I punched him in the face. So,
yeah. Well, I was rewatching it today.
Cool
you are
memory.
the only guy. You are the only guy who actually managed to land a punch, for what that's worth.
On any offense in on the big Braun.
Well, it's pretty cool. You wrestled Strowman, and then you actually, when you wrestled DIY, you were the first tag team partner of the man now known as Lars Sullivan in his first NXT appearance. Like, there's, I guess, two questions here. How does it feel that you're sort of entrusted with, quote unquote, the bigger guys? And how do you prepare yourself when you know you're going to go to the ring and get the shit kicked out of you?
When it comes to like the trusting part, I don't even think, for me, it's not so much that I feel good that I'm trusted with bigger guys. It's more that like I went there, they don't really know who I am other than like this guy was trained by TJ, but they still trusted me to get in the ring and do what needed to be done. And then when it comes to getting my ass kicked, really, it's like it's just another day at the office, I guess. Like, that's kind of what I do.
You're going to get hit either way.
Yeah, I'm going to get hit either way. Like, you come to the shows, you've seen some of the stuff I do, so.
Yeah. Is that something you pride yourself on, is your ability to, I guess, sell, to use the insider term?
Yeah. I think what I pride myself on is I feel like I don't give any less than 110% every time. And I know that isn't mathematically correct, but like, I've never phoned it in a match. I've never gone out there and thought, let's go easy tonight, whether there's like 10 people in the crowd, which I've legitimately wrestled in front of 10 people before, or the biggest crowd I've wrestled in front of was that Raw show. And I think there was about 10,000 there. Every time is just like 110%. I'm going to throw caution to the wind and make sure whatever I'm doing on this night is the best it can possibly be with the most intensity anybody's going to see.
Man, I still remember even, like, I compare it to when the Hardys came back at Mania this year, is when I saw you on Raw. It was about the coolest moment that I have had as a wrestling fan in years. There's MRB. Awesome. Let's talk about the Prairie Wrestling Alliance for a little bit. What sort of draws you to them? They have sort of become, I mean, you've wrestled in a couple other places and continue to do so, but they sort of seem like your home promotion. What sort of draws you to them, or I guess what makes them different from any other promotion in Edmonton or Alberta or that you've wrestled for?
I think when it comes to what makes them different, it's just, and I don't want to, like, this isn't meant to be an insult to anybody else at all, so I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way, and I'm going to try to word it the right way, but I think it's just like a level of professionalism that's a little, just like that tiniest bit above, and it's because Kurt's been doing it for so long, and he's worked with so many guys, and he understands wrestling. Like, it's hard to go for almost 20 years and not know what you're doing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, like he's had all the names in. He's had your Cody Rhodeses, your Christopher Danielses, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, and all of those guys have said the same thing, that they like it. They like the level of professionalism. So there's obviously that sets PWA apart. And then really for me specifically, a lot of it has to do with loyalty, because for me and Brandon, the first shot we got given was with Stampede Wrestling, which a lot of that came through TJ. And when Stampede Wrestling closed, we didn't have anything, especially as kids. Nobody really wanted to use us, and Kurt was the only one that really gave us a shot. So,
how much input, like you're working with Brandon now and you've worked together previously, how much input do you guys get with Kurt or whoever's writing the shows as far as sort of your storylines or your characters or anything like that? Is that pretty well self-driven from you guys, or is there someone telling you you're going out to do this tonight?
There's always that thing where it's like we do get told what we're going to do. We get put in the matches that they want to see us in, but a lot of the character stuff, like the whole Western Lions thing, that's me and Brandon. That's just who we really are. Like, Brandon legitimately is a tough redneck.
It scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, like, I legitimately, maybe I'm not as much of a total asshole in real life as I am on the shows, but I legitimately am like the guy that goes in, gives it his all, works his ass off, and will tell you about it if he has to, kind of guy that you see on the show.
Absolutely. It seems that any time you bring up that Kurt's brought in AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes and Samoa Joe, it always seems like they target you. Do you have a sense of pride in the fact that, like, you get these quote-unquote big-name guys coming in and they say, we want MRB?
Yeah, I really do, actually. That's like a big thing that gives me a lot of confidence in myself and is a driving factor in what has pushed me from being pretty good, like I think I was before, to being what I actually am now, which is I have no problem saying I think I'm the best guy here. And that might sound really cocky, but it's just realistically how I feel at this point. And I've worked my ass off to get to that point. And I also worked my ass off to get to the point that, like, I was able to be the guy that they throw in the ring with all those names that we bring in, because there was a time where I wasn't that guy and I was just doing whatever I had to do to get to that level.
So is WWE the end goal for you then?
Yeah, WWE's always been the end goal and it always will be. There's nothing I want out of wrestling more than to be a WWE superstar and perform on WrestleMania. Yeah.
That's cool. The one question, the staple question that I've got for you here, if you could call out one independent wrestler right here, right now, to come wrestle you at PWA, who would it be?
Oh, man. Has to be an independent wrestler. Even though he kind of already laid out the challenge, I'm going to say it's not just for me. I would call out the Young Bucks to come face me and Brandon. And I would say because in 2009, we were already doing a lot of the stuff as the Young Lions that they made popular now. And I think we could prove not only are we on their level, but we might even be surpassed their level and really give them a run for their money and put not only here on the map, but ourselves on the map. And yeah, I think it would just be an amazing match. Western Lions versus the Young Bucks.
That's super cool. Young Bucks, if you were listening to Over the Top Rope for whatever reason, the challenge has been laid down. Now, let's talk about what you've got coming up. You're defending your co-championship on March 3rd at Revelation against Gabriel in a no DQ match. I guess it came after some controversy surrounding your last match. I don't want to be the one to say you tapped out, but do you like your chances in this one?
I always like my chances. I think, if anything, it's an injustice that Gabriel was given another title shot, because what's he really done to earn it? I didn't tap out. I was simply trying to escape the hold. And for another factor, I don't think it's fair that he's allowed to use whatever he wants, that this is no disqualification. But when you think about it logically, what's stopping Brandon Van Danielson from getting involved now?
Well, to me, I didn't see him win a number one contenders match on Saturday night.
Exactly.
Looking past that, let's talk about your upcoming match, the 17th anniversary show. You've got Sheik Shabazz with the Resolution Rumble contract, but he doesn't look like he's going to be utilizing it to take you guys on at the 17th anniversary show. And especially now, it's been announced that you, Brandon Van Danielson, and Sheik Shabazz will be taking on Gabriel, Jeff Tyler, and Christopher Daniels himself. Have you guys worked together before? And if not, are you looking forward to it? Or do you just think that this is another match that you shouldn't have to be a part of?
Well, for one, I do think this is another match that I shouldn't have to be a part of, because realistically, just like you said, neither Gabriel or Jeff Tyler won their match. They don't deserve any shot at Brandon Van Danielson or myself. With that said, I think it'll be a really special match, especially having Christopher Daniels' involvement, and it'll be, I believe, the first time Edmonton's going to get to see Sheik and the Western Lions in a six-man tag before we eventually, at some point, take on Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks.
Cool.
But also, 2014, I did in fact wrestle Christopher Daniels. And what Kurt seems to have forgotten is last time I stepped in the ring with Christopher Daniels, I pinned him clean. So if he thinks this is some sort of trump card, everybody, especially Daniels and Kurt, have another thing coming.
Absolutely. Well, we'll leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Richard Blais, God's Gift to Wrestling, thank you so much for joining me on today's show. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, support your local wrestling. March 3rd, we have Revolution in Calgary. March 24th, we have the 17th anniversary show in Edmonton. You can get tickets at Nate. You can also pick them up through PWA's various sponsors. Again, Michael, thanks for coming on to Over the Top Rope. Good luck on the 3rd, and hope to have you on again sometime soon.
Thanks for having me, man. Anytime. And everybody, come to both those shows you just mentioned. I will not disappoint. You don't want to miss it. See you.
I can personally vouch that he won't disappoint, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to Over the Top Rope. When we return, we will be talking about WWE factions and the lack thereof. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Over the Top Rope. And Michael, thank you one more time.
Could you guys tell that I was nervous? I told you guys I was going to be nervous, but you got to start somewhere, and I couldn't have picked a better guy to interview first, because not only on the professional wrestling end as a fan, but just on the mentorship side of things, I can't speak highly enough of Michael Richard Blais, both personally and for the professional wrestling scene in Alberta overall. It was a great time. It continues to be a great time getting to know him, getting to pick his brain in professional wrestling, and hopefully sooner rather than later, we're going to do round 4 or 5 or whatever round we may be on right here on Love Wrestling. But if you guys want to, I do have a feature coming out on MRB himself here in the next couple of days. I really hope you guys check that one out. There's a lot of cool stuff that you will not find elsewhere, but here on Love Wrestling, I've plugged myself enough, so there's no need for me to do it right here, right now. Like, share, subscribe, follow, retweet, do whatever you got to do. It really does help continue to bring the best of the best your way from Love Wrestling Studios, wherever they may be, into your ears. Thanks once again, folks. Stay tuned for the next one.